What is going on, everybody? And welcome to another episode of the Huddle Within Podcast. We have now hit episode 13, which is extremely exciting. For those tuning in for the first time, if you do enjoy this episode, feel free to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. And also, it would be great if you could leave a 5-star review as well. For this week's episode, as you can tell from the title, we have brought on Jack Kelly, also known as Pistons Jack, who is a passionate Detroit Pistons fan from Melbourne, Australia, getting worldwide kind of coverage on his support and passion for the Pistons. So a perfect guest to have on this show. We sort of go into a deep dive of his fandom, his rise to kind of being one of the main Pistons communities and also main pillars of Pistons coverage. And sort of, discuss that journey, put a bit of kind of our Australian spice on it as well, given that we're both from Australia there, and just giving you guys a bit of a limelight as to what you could possibly be if you were to pursue a team or a sport that you want to support as a major fan. So it's a very good listen. I really hope you guys enjoy the content. And Jack was a super down to earth bloke. Really appreciate him getting on the pod and discussing all things NBA and all things Pistons. So let me know what you guys think. And yeah, please enjoy. Welcome to the Huddle Within Podcast, where we go beyond the surface to uncover the real impact of sports on our lives, whether it's lessons of resilience, the passion that fuels us, or the stories that connect us all. This is where the game gets personal. I am Daniel, a regular sports fan just like you, and together we'll explore what sports truly means beyond the surface. So step right into the huddle and let's get into it. What is going on, everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of the Huddle Within podcast. Today, I am proud to present another guest on the show, Pistons Jack. How's it going?
Good, mate. How are you?
Yeah, good. Just honestly, really excited to have you on here. We've had conversations in the past, so I know a lot about you, but would love for my audience to know who exactly you are as well.
Of course. So, yeah, my name's Jack. I'm in Melbourne, Australia. I'm a huge Pistons fan, and in the past 6 to 8 months, I launched my own brand called Pistons Jack. And essentially, I'm just on most social platforms, and I make content about the team daily. This is what I do, essentially for a full-time job, cover the team. I was recently in Detroit for the first time in February, and then I was back for the playoffs only a few weeks ago. But yeah, I became a fan of the Pistons in 2012. My background is mainly construction. I did that for like 10 years after I finished school, or sorry, 8 years. And then I worked at the NBL, National Basketball League, for a year in the social team. And then I decided to do my own thing with Pistons Jack. And yeah, I just love the Pistons and the community that surrounds it. And I'm just a fan. I originally wanted to get into the media, be a journalist, but I realized I don't like that angle. I like my fandom, and that's what Pistons Jack's all about, covering the team from a fan's perspective.
Yeah, that's awesome. Like, I guess here in this podcast, we do dive into sports fandom and how it kind of impacts and shapes our lives. And as a fellow Australian getting worldwide coverage, it seems like you'd be the perfect guest here and just an inspiration to all people that are big sports fandoms. And I guess diving into, what you could personally be if you were to pursue something in sports. So I guess we can get started on a few questions. We'll see how this kind of goes throughout the whole episode. But the first thing I'd love to say is like, where did the love for the Pistons begin?
So yeah, I reckon I was in like year 4 or 5. So I'm 29 now, but it must have been like mid 2000s. I'd never watched basketball really or anything. And my mum was just like, I love, like, growing up, I was just all footy, AFL. And then my mum was like, you need a sport to play in the spring or something. And I was like, oh, she's like, why don't you try basketball? I was like, okay, I've never played. And literally, like, just fell in love with the sport very quickly, like got NBA Live, and then like just become very accustomed with the NBA. And I loved, like, I was just like casual, like I was Lakers, Kobe, LeBron, Cavs. And I loved like Dwight Howard, and that there was a Magic team that made the finals in like '09, I think.
Yeah,
I was just like, I don't know, I
0809.
just, yeah, like I'm 6 foot tall. I'm not a center. I don't know why, but I just like really liked Dwight Howard because he was like athletic as hell. And I remember around 2011, I saw a mock draft on NBA.com, and the number one ranked player for the 2012 class was meant to be Andre Drummond, and he was meant to be the next Dwight Howard. So I was like, wherever he gets drafted, I'm going to follow that team. And I kind of watched him a little bit while I was at UConn, but it's kind of hard in Australia trying to watch college games, especially back then. But I ended up watching that draft. He went to the Pistons, and I was like, all right, I'm a Pistons fan now. Got league pass his rookie season. And yeah, I honestly, from 2012 to maybe 2021, I was just a huge fan. Wasn't on social media doing anything about the Pistons, and just like love watching the game is my biggest passion. And yeah, I've just been like a huge fan ever since. Like that's that's how I became a Pistons fan. I haven't seen like much success prior to this season, but yeah, I just fell in love with the team. That's really all it is.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think that's pretty much similar to what a lot of people in Australia do when it comes to supporting teams, especially outside of their country, in the NBA, and also like I see in football as well, in soccer. So it's just great that we can always pick a team and just kind of run with that and follow it, where there's no real like affiliations in terms of like local league and stuff. I find that pretty awesome. As I've mentioned in previous episodes, mine's pretty similar with the Wizards and falling in love with John Wall and just kind of taking that further. And then I guess as you continue to support the Pistons, obviously there was a lot of phases with rebuilding and now getting some rewarded success. How did you kind of feel going through that kind of rebuild stage and those failures and then getting up to this moment? Because I've always mentioned in previous episodes, it's always the suffering that makes you kind of
Yeah.
be fasted for that reward. And when you finally got it, do you think that it wouldn't have felt the same if you did like
It's
win at the start, you know?
It's crazy. I feel
Yeah,
like so I was just briefly saying to you before
yeah,
we jumped on here, like
yeah.
from since I think it was the 2020 season when everything got shut down with COVID, the Pistons finally started tanking. Like Blake Griffin, he was done. Like his knee was shot. Andre had ran its course, and he had been just traded to the Cavs. And so since 2020, the Pistons had been rebuilding, and I was all in on like tanking young guys, get your best draft odds. And it was like I was fine with it. I remember even the 2022-2023 season, Cade's second season, he was pretty much out the whole season, but we had rookie Ivy. And I was like, they won 17 games. It was a slog, but it was like, all right, it's the Wemby draft. I was like, cool. We had the worst record. Obviously, we fell all the way to 5. We got a Asar, who I'm very happy with now, but then it was meant to be the 23-24 season was like, all right, we're finally going to start winning games and we're going to push for the play-in. And that season was the worst in franchise history. It was 28-game losing streak. Your man Kyle Kuzma was saying, "Don't be that team." Well, former guy Kuzma, but it was just that season really tested me. I'm not gonna lie. That was the first time a sports team's ever affected my mental health. Not much, but I
Yeah.
was just like so down because I love this team so much, and like it was horrible. But this season, it was like all worth it. It was crazy. I've never had a team won 44 games, which is the most I've ever seen as a fan. They won 2 playoff games, which I'd never seen since I've been a fan. First playoff win since 2008. And honestly, I was at that first win in New York. It was just crazy feeling. Best night of my life, like honestly. And it was just to finally taste some success. It's weird. Like this whole season's just been like, what, like we do live streams after the game.
Yeah.
It's just connecting with fans and all of us just being so happy about things I think a lot of fan bases take for granted, which is fine. Like, I'm not saying they should be envious of us because it's been a painful road, but it's just been honestly magical. It's like, I'm so glad I went all in to cover the team full time this season because it's just everything feels so magic and the future all of a sudden after feeling so bleak is like, wow. It's just I'm not used to feeling so hopeful about my favorite team.
Yeah, well, it's good to know because I feel like that kind of like backbone was the backbone of your success and your rise to fame as you were kind of, I guess, going through this journey and this struggle of Detroit. As they were succeeding, you were kind of on that same trajectory. So it felt like it was like a connection there that brought you to something that could be more invested, and it was like a reward for all your kind of loyalty going through those hard times as well. So when did you start seeing that like this would be a thing, like being able to cover the team full time? You've gone on plenty of trips to Detroit, as mentioned you went to the playoffs and you went and saw a few games there in the New York series. And then before that, you also had a week with the team as well. They invited you down to kind of cover the team for 3 games. And I saw that journey. And that was pretty awesome to see from outside looking in. So kind of tell me when that started becoming a reality and how did it feel, Could never
So
imagine.
yeah, it's been so to start okay, I'll go back just a little bit because like it's been like a bit more of a journey in the sense like to get here and to get to this decision. But I like during COVID, it must have been 2021, like we're coming out of COVID, but I my girlfriend who I met like in 2020 was just like I was a tradie, like my background, like I worked in telecommunications doing like like the NBN fiber, like that's
Yeah,
like
yeah,
kind of
yeah.
what I did, but out in the street.
Yeah.
And like so I was working in a family business anyway. Long story short, she was just like, "That's not you. Like you're obsessed with basketball," and she's like, "You just like don't even like." I wouldn't even like talk to anyone really about it. Like I'd just be on this Pistons blog, kind of talking to people, but so I thought I wanted to be a journalist. So I started like, I was like, okay, I'll message the guy who runs this blog, and dude, I like am so bad at English. Like but I just like,
Me too, bro.
I
Trust me.
can't write, but I was like, I want to do
Yeah,
sport full time. So I just
yeah.
started writing for this blog. And then because of that, I was like, I'd always been on Twitter, but never posted. And I'd see like people like Zach Lowe and just other ESPN people and that like post on Twitter, like clips. So I just started posting on there, and over probably 2 years, I built like a small following, and like I was just like posting a lot of videos and stuff. And I kind of found that didn't really enjoy the writing as much. And I'm also liked just making contact and interacting with fans from like in Detroit and like people from outside of Australia. And then, yeah, I remember I was talking to some people. I just reach out to journalists all the time, some in Australia, some in the US. And then a guy who worked at the NBL who I got coffee with was like, you should reach out to someone from the NBL one, see if they would have any work for you in like the writing space, just like casually. And I did. And they were like, look, we don't want any of your writing stuff, but if you want, we have casual work on the weekends for game night socials. It's like, okay, I'll do this. And then I did that for like 2 months. And then that led to a job at the NBL, which I was what do you call it? A grad, but then I became social media coordinator, and I learned so much in like 12 to 15 months there about social media. I didn't even know how to like make a reel or
Wow.
anything when I got there. I just knew how to post like a video and some stuff on Twitter, and I learned so much. And I was like, dude, I need to like, thought my Pistons fandom would die when I got my full-time job at the NBL, because that's
Yeah.
what my goal was, like to
Yeah, of
just
course.
like work in sport full time.
Yeah, sort of get out of being like an MBN or a tradie and
Yeah, and just
whatnot.
like, because I was
Yeah.
still working in construction, but then at
Yeah, for sure.
night I was doing like posting stuff about the Pistons, a little
Sure.
bit of writing. Then on the
Yeah.
weekends I was doing NBL one,
Yeah.
and then like when I got my job at the NBL, I'm like, this is what I wanted. But I
Yeah.
was like, my Pistons fandom didn't die at all. And then I
Mm.
just learned all these new ways to like how to maybe just grow an audience, how to be smarter about posting, like how to like figure out like trends, and so I was like, I just want to do this full time.
Yeah.
So I was like still very scared to like go all in. But then, yeah, I decided to. And like the stuff that happened this season, I actually went to Summer League in 2023. Like I paid for it all, but I got
Wow.
a media credential from the blog I was writing for. And I learned two things there. It was like, one, I don't want to be a journalist. I just didn't like this. It's so intense. And I don't really like just me personally, the players in that environment. It's just a very intense, it's not how I would
Yeah.
want to build a relationship with a player, or
100%.
it's not the relationship I want to have with my favorite team. It was just,
I, f- I feel
yeah,
it's very critical. Like even like
yeah,
sorry to interrupt, but I feel as though like even for me, like starting this, it's like I wouldn't want to get into journalism because I feel like a lot of my stuff is on like players and understanding that they're humans as well. And I
yeah,
feel like journalism just takes that out. There's no positivity when it comes to that. It's very critical in some aspects. There is obviously positive aspects to it, but when you go into a room and say the team loses, you need to understand and get as to why they lose. They're
yeah,
obviously frustrated. They're going in their car. They probably don't even want to talk to you. And then you get asked probably the most like obscure questions that you have to answer professionally. I
Yeah.
can totally agree with you. Like I would hate to be a journalist as well. Yeah.
And it's just like it's a very like and I actually the beat writers that cover the Pistons, I think they do a great job, and I don't think any of them are like have it's just more so like my relationship with the team. Like I didn't like that, and I was just like, this isn't for me. And then, but while I was there, I met some people from the Pistons marketing and social team. They reached out to me and we got breakfast. And this is like
Nice.
I had no idea what I was doing at the time. I was pitching
Yeah.
some horrible ideas,
Yeah.
but I got that relationship there,
Yeah.
and then I kept that, stayed in touch. And then when they saw I was doing this full time, I think we started chatting in November. And then I was like, oh, we could collab on some content. And they collabed. And I was so happy with like, I think I did some all-star videos for Cade and Ivy, like just promoting all-star voting. And then they surprised me with a trip to Detroit. So that was the
Wow.
first one in Feb for World Basketball Day. And that trip was like, was crazy. Like that was crazy. Like, yeah, it was just really magical. Like, just the fans, like it was crazy, like doing fan meetups and just like it was insane, like the community, like it was wild. So after that trip, I caught up with the Pistons just to debrief on that trip, and then they were like, "Do you want to come back for the playoffs?" I was like, "Of
Wow.
course." It was
Of
on
course.
my list to ask them, but I was like, "I
Yeah.
don't want to be like getting ahead of
Of
myself
course.
here
Of
because
course.
I've just got back from a huge trip." But then the
Yeah.
playoff trip happened, so I was very, very fortunate, and I think it all just started with like having that relationship from 2 years prior, maintaining that, going all in, being dedicated, and yeah, I'm very grateful and fortunate, but yeah, that's how everything kind of eventuated with those trips.
Yeah. No, truly inspiring, honestly. And I think as you kind of go across that journey, it really is those connections and communities that kind of inspire you as well and make you want to do it. Because I think when it comes to like our regular jobs, we feel as though we're not really associating with people that are kind of on the same wavelength. And then when you find out that there are people that the same like you that have the same interests, that's where the joy comes from. So I think talk to more about like the power of community because I've seen a lot of coverage. I know you do those videos with the Korean Pistons fan who's also like a massive Pistons fan, but just being able to kind of attach your team and connect with the whole world. I personally just find that amazing. That's kind of what I live by in community and just getting people together for one common thing. And I think
No,
that's so powerful. Yeah.
well, so that's like one of my, like obviously the at the core of this is like I'm a fan and I
Yeah.
just want to cover my favorite team. But one
Yeah.
of my main like pillars is like connecting Pistons fans around the world because for me back in like 2012 to 16, like you would know this, like how many Wizards fans have you ever seen in person in Melbourne?
Probably like it's come up surprisingly, but I only knew one and now it's gone up to like five, which is very
Yeah,
surprising. But yeah, it's
it's
true. There's not
crazy.
many.
And guess what my most common DM is like from Australian Pistons fans.
I wouldn't know. No idea.
I thought I was the only Pistons fan in Australia.
Yeah.
And
There you
it's
go.
like
Yeah.
and that's how I felt for
Yeah.
so long until I found like this Detroit Bad Boys blog and I kind of met people, but I didn't. So like for me, it was like, I want to like have a space. Like, you know, when like if the Wizards lose a close game or they have
Sure.
like a big win like they do
Yeah.
against the Nuggets this season, you just want to like celebrate that,
100%.
especially
Yeah.
if you're watching it live on a Saturday, you don't have your work. You just want to like have a place to be like, let's go. Or like if they have a tough loss, you want a place to go where you're like, just get it off you and
Yeah.
like move
100%.
on. Because if you're that passionate, it's like you just want to like debrief. So like for me, like I want to I always wanted a place to like share those thoughts.
For sure.
And like we have podcasts and like that's awesome. And like there's a lot of podcasts that go like will have something straight after the game, but it's like I found that there's not really a place, at least in the Pistons community, that like fans can go and have their voice. So
Yes.
that's why for me, like I have these, this is not a new concept. I know people do it with AFL content and like I've seen it everywhere, but like I have fan reacts after every
Mm,
game. I go live and I
mm,
just send fans a link. They can come up and chat or they can just
sure.
chat in the chat, but like
Yeah.
come up on stage like you and I and just talk about the game. And
Mm,
I think it's just been so good. Like I've met fans from obviously Korea, um, the UK, Russia, like
Yeah, everywhere.
everywhere.
Yeah, you wouldn't expect that when she
It's
started. So
crazy.
yeah.
It's the best, like in Switzerland, and it's so cool hearing everyone's story, how they became a fan, why they're a fan, what time they have to watch the games. Like it's so just building that community, I think is that was one of my main goals, and it's been definitely one of my highlights is just meeting all these fans and just like after a bad loss, like getting everyone up to share their thoughts. Like I always feel better after like the hour to hour and a half
For
stream,
sure.
and most people I think do as well that come on. So the community's like, yeah, everything. And like
Yeah,
even the fans in Detroit that I meet in person are incredible as well. It's not just international
for
fans,
sure.
but obviously being in Australia, um, yeah, we definitely get a lot of international fans on my content, I would say.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's a great way to bridge the gap between kind of having that connection with the fans as well. And by that, you're actually growing the Pistons as well. So that's kind of so awesome too. And as you said, like no one wants to support a team on their own. Like it doesn't have that feeling like there's no one to share your emotions with. So I find that sport is really powerful when people are together, when people have a common kind of support or a common goal of wanting a team to succeed. And that's all we want to like kind of break down on this podcast is just like having those discussions about how important us fans are because it doesn't get overlooked, but it's something that I think can be talked about a lot more. And like people like yourself that are really acting and wanting to do that and wanting to kind of grow communities and also ultimately show your support to the team you love is just simply awesome. So I guess when people are, and you probably answered it already, but when people are listening or watching your content, what do you actually want them to feel? What is kind of the goal there when you're putting stuff out? Obviously for Pistons fans, but maybe for like a fan myself that isn't a Pistons fan, but is probably respecting what we see and how sport fandom is in your scope.
I want them to feel like a part of something, connected, and I would just say like just excited. Like and just like if you watch some of my content, whether it's like a game recap reel of like a win that goes for 40 seconds, just be like my goal is just to make people talk and be excited and like in love with the Pistons. And I know like, but like it's just to push their brand because I feel like not their brand as such, but just like the players and the team. Because I just would. I remember when I was younger, like I would turn on First Take, and I, for some stupid reason, would be like sitting there waiting for them to talk about the Pistons, and they never would
Yeah,
because no one care. Like they don't get the coverage. So like
yeah,
for me,
exactly.
it's like I'm pushing them so they get coverage. And they're getting coverage now that they win. But like, I just want people to be excited about the Detroit Pistons. And if you're a Pistons fan, I want you to be excited about the team. I always try and be positive, even if we lose, so that you don't give up on them. You keep coming back and you feel a part of something special. And just because for me, like the reason I have such a strong attachment to Andre Drummond is he was a pretty good player. He made two
Mm,
All-Star teams, but he's
yeah,
not. He's not even John Wall. He's not a
yeah,
superstar. But
yeah,
when I was like in year 11, when I first started watching him and that, like, but if I was like anxious or feeling weird about anything socially, like you go through some weird things when you're a teenager.
for sure,
It's like I knew from 11 to 1:30 p.m. watching Andre Drummond, I'd be happy. So it's like, I know for some people, like, that's what sport is. It's an outlet. It's a
yeah,
time where you can just like forget about what's going on and just be so locked into your
for
team. So
sure.
it's like, I want to like make you feel excited for that or make you feel awesome about that. So sorry for the long answer, but that's like
Nah, it's
kind of,
great.
for me, it's just about generating excitement and
Yeah,
positivity and giving people
yeah.
shine, I would say.
For sure. You just reminded me of like when I was at school and getting the iPad out. I had the
Yeah.
Foxtel Go and they didn't have it blocked. So just whipping out the ESPN, having the league pass and just watching it during class. That's what I
Oh,
love about NBA too, because like even now when I'm working, there's always NBA on in
yeah.
the background and I'm able to kind of just watch it during the day. But you're so right. Like no, not a long answer at all. Definitely like true and definitely what I want to kind of extract from this episode and episodes moving forward is like how much of an impact that sport team can have on you to a point where it really does like change your emotions and makes you feel good. I remember back in the playoffs, and we're going to talk about the playoffs for you for sure. We're not going to forget that. But when John Wall got the winner in the Game 6 match against the Boston Celtics, I don't know if you remember, but
I do.
my house went erupt, like gone erupt. There was an earthquake. I was screaming, yelling, like going crazy, shirts off, celebrating. I'm just like an 18-year-old kid just kind of getting into basketball for the first time. But those are moments that Like you can't get better moments than that. You can't like get that from anything else, because the fact that you're not in control of it makes your emotions more crazy as well, because you're relying on like five blokes on a court to just change your whole mood. And like I just find that awesome. Then you got the low lights, like we had the LeBron game winner in that TNT game, that famous game with the Kevin Love quarterback
Yeah, I
pass
know that
off the
one.
bank shot, and just like how shattered I am, but also how proud I was, because that was the first time the Wizards were actually on the map on TV. And that's when people started to take the Wizards serious, to the point where the Cavs were scared of us. They didn't want to actually match up with us in the playoffs. But forget about me. Don't worry about the Wizards. The Wizards are not good at the moment until tomorrow when we get Cooper Flag. But just talk to me about the playoffs. So the first time the Pistons have been in the playoffs for a while now. Obviously, you're going to cover it. How was the atmosphere? You've obviously been to regular season games. I've been to regular season games as well. But we just want to love to know the difference and basically that whole experience too, because that was pretty amazing. And a funny story that you had as well that I'll let you share too. An unfortunate one, but also quite funny.
We well, so the when I went to the first home games for like I had been into Detroit in Feb, they were pretty loud because they were on an 8 or 9 game winning streak. So like the crowd was really locked in, and like I was talking to people from the Pistons, they were like, "These are the first true sellouts we've had this season," and it was loud. But I remember Game 3 was the first game in Detroit, and we were sitting. Well, actually, they had us in a suite, and I was like, there was heaps of other people in there,
Yeah.
and I had my back to the court pre-game. I was just talking to someone, and I just heard this like boo, and it was so loud that
Yeah.
I was like, they're pumping it out through the speakers, like that's. And I just turned around, I'm like, what, like. And it was just the Knicks coming out, and the Pistons fans like in LCA was just so loud, like
Wow.
it was crazy. Like they were doing like "F you Brunson" chants. Like it was so loud. Like because I was at MSG for Game 2, and the Knicks fans are crazy. I've been to MSG a few times, but I'd never been to a playoff game, obviously, and that was an incredible experience in itself. Being like, I don't know, there's probably only like 50 Pistons fans
Yeah. A very
there,
hostile crowd.
being amongst a crowd like that, um, was like the opposite. But the Pistons fans, I genuinely am being serious. Like the Pistons fans were louder than MSG for those home games, because I think we'd been starved for like
Sure. Of course.
anything for so long. It was just, and I've always been told like sports in Detroit are like crazy. It's on another level. And I really felt that like the
Yeah.
fans were like insane. It was so loud. And just like watching playoff basketball, like I would be absolutely exhausted, like, and I'm not a fan that like gets up and like screams a lot. Like I do a little bit, but I'm not like full heckling players
Yeah.
and stuff. Like I
Yeah.
just support my team. But like it was just exhausting, like because all the home games were so close. I think they
Yeah.
lost all 3 home games by a combined 6 points. And
Wow.
two of
Wow.
them were like I the Pistons should have won, like
Yeah.
genuinely. But
Yeah.
that's what happens when you're a young team. The Knicks were just more experienced. But like um it was just crazy, and like even in the losses, I'd be devastated for like 5 minutes, but then it was like coming to the realization of like how lucky I am to be
For
here and just
sure. Yeah.
watch like such high level basketball and watch my team just like absolutely going at it with like a Knicks team who look pretty good right now,
Yeah, they
even
do.
though they had a big loss to Boston yesterday. Like
Yeah.
it's just like whole like I'm like just so grateful to be here and like be able to watch so many playoff games. It was just an incredible experience. Like um, just the atmosphere was crazy. It's something. I've been to a couple of AFL grand finals and they were crazy as well.
Yeah.
Like I would put it smaller crowd, but the building's smaller, so it's like it's very similar.
Yeah.
Like
I
it's
was going to ask you about the
just
grand
so
final because that.
intense.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know what it's like watching, like, you obviously I can see go for the Pies. Like,
Yeah.
you've watched your fair share of finals. I'm sure you've been in person. Like, it's just
Yes.
every possession, you're just like, you can't relax. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's
It's
just,
crazy.
it's painful, but in
Yeah.
the best way possible. It was
Yeah.
incredible.
Yeah, I really had to sink a few beers at the grand final against Brisbane just to really numb my emotions, but it definitely was extremely loud. But as you say, it might be a smaller crowd, but I think because the building is so small, the noise would be amplified. So I
Yeah.
could imagine how crazy it'd be, and especially the fact that it's your first playoff run as well. I find that New York have been there before, and because they're probably tickets are very expensive as well. I do find that maybe the fans are not as authentic as Pistons. Maybe New York fans are coming out to get me. I know that they're crazy fans, but I just feel like it was different. It does make sense that the Pistons fans would go off for that. And it's pretty awesome that you actually had that experience. And I was going back on my funny story. I wish I could have told you the game one not to get a ticket off a random person on the street, man,
Oh,
because that's happened. I've been offered that before, but yeah,
so
talk to me about that. That
that
was,
was
yeah,
just so we got to New York on the day of game one, and I didn't have tickets sorted. And but we were like, we're still going to go to MSG and try interview some fans, find some Pistons fans because we were staying real close. So we walked up, and I was like fully happy to not happy to not go, but I realized okay, I tried to put out some feelers for tickets. It just wasn't going to happen. But when we were there, and because you can fully get through security and everything without a ticket,
yeah,
we were
wow,
inside MSG interviewing fans, and I was like, man, I just want to go now. I'm literally here, but they're on the
yeah,
other side of this wall, warming up. So we were we're walking back to our hotel, and then these guys came up and they're like, "We got tickets," and then I was deep down, I was like, I feel like this is not legit, but I just I'd always, when people come up to me like that, just say no. But because it's for the Pistons and I just was kind of desperate, me and my
yeah,
girlfriend were like, why not? They were
yeah,
100 USD each. They wanted us to pay 200 USD each, which sus in itself. Playoff tickets aren't that cheap, but
yeah,
whatever. We were just and then they were like, oh, you need to get cash out. So we went across the road to an ATM. Then my girlfriend's like, oh, I don't have my bank cards at the hotel room. And this should have been our sign from the universe to be like, don't. Because we were so desperate though, we ran back to the hotel, got her card, got money out, and then they were like to us, oh, we've already sold the tickets. And I was like, oh, deep down, I'm like, I feel like this is just fully a scam. But we're like, then they're like, oh, actually, no, we've got them. And then we stupidly bought them. And then as soon as we got through security and went to scan, they're like, guys, these are fake. And I was like, shit. So it was I didn't, and then my girlfriend was like, on the way back, I was so gutted. I was so
yeah, yeah,
man, why, why did we even do this? I feel bad now. But then I was just like, I want to be at the game. Then my girlfriend was like, we need to capture this. She's like, we've just lost 400 Australian. Let's make content out of it. So then that's where the content came from. And a lot of people are saying, oh, I did that just for content.
yeah,
But I genuinely didn't. We were
no,
just desperate and
yeah,
we've just traveled. We got stuck in Dallas for a night. We just traveled
yeah,
so far. It was
yeah,
let's just give it a crack. And it's it didn't work out, but
yeah.
whatever.
It's happened, but sort of blessing in disguise. I think you went to a bar anyway. I think you were with a
Yeah.
few Pistons fans. Did you just win that game? I can't remember.
Yeah, no, they
Yeah,
lost. So
they lost it. So there you go. You won.
yeah.
You
So
won
then
the
we
second
got
one.
tickets to game 2 and it all worked out.
Yeah,
So
fair. It's meant to be. So you just look at the
yeah,
positives about it. But definitely a lesson for next time, for
literally.
sure. Yeah, it's happened to me too on an occasion as well. Not for sport purposes. More stupidly, I was in Spain. I was there for 6 months. Some guy was desperate for money, saying I don't have a ticket to my bus. Can you give me some money, please? All in broken Spanish, and I was trying to get the words out. And in my mind, I just really wanted to help someone. I was in that kind of mood, but I didn't think that I could have just went to the bus ticket and say, "What's your ticket?" To buy it. Panic, took 150 euros out and just paid it to him. And
Yeah.
then he's like, "I'll pay you back." And I'm like, "Yeah, here's my number. Just message me the next day." Obviously didn't message me the next day, so you're definitely not the only one. But yeah, a good lesson. But yeah,
Exactly.
pretty awesome that even you still were able to be there, and then the second game as well, and have that whole experience. Honestly, really happy for you. And it just, again, I said to you before this, it's just great to see someone of an Aussie descent to come into the world of basketball and really have a presence there. And I wanted to talk about, I guess, meeting players as well. So I noticed you did meet a lot of players and kind of how that went about. Were they kind of digging in your Aussie accent a bit, having an understanding of because I go overseas all the time and everything they ask all the typical questions is there a lot of spiders there? Is it
Yeah.
dangerous? Oh, it's too far. I don't want to go. So
Yeah.
I guess, yeah, tell me about your experience being an Aussie and kind of, I guess, being a proud Aussie going there as well, and how that identity kind of impacts you as well and makes you feel extra special.
Well, I think the stuff with the players, so that was all from the first trip I went to
Yeah.
in late February. So
Yeah.
the Cade thing was crazy.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we were sitting, so I obviously being on Instagram, like the players, like if you like tag them in a story, pretty much every Pistons player will look at it except for Cade and Ivy. But so I know that some of them know who I am. I never would go up to them, like
Yeah.
never, especially at games and stuff.
Mhm.
But the Cade thing after that, that was after my first Pistons game in LCA. And I was like literally saying to someone that day, I was like, Cade is the last, like literally out of this entire organization. I think there's like 500 people that work for the Pistons. Like he's the one guy I would not expect to know who I am or what I do. So after that game, he pointed into the crowd and I was sitting like kind of baseline near the Pistons bench and he pointed in my direction. And we were sitting in like this bar. It's not a VIP area, but the Pistons just sat us down there for that game. So I was like, oh, there'd be some rapper celebrity behind me who I don't know who they are. And I turn around, there's no one there. And I literally am like, okay. And then he saw me turn around, so he like nodded at me and pointed again. And I have it, my girlfriend was filming all of this. And I was like, I normally don't lose it, but I was like, holy shit, Kay just pointed
Yeah.
at me. And
That's
I still
massive.
didn't believe he was pointing at me because I'm like, he doesn't know who I am. And then I got up and I walked over and like some fans rushed over to him. And then I still was like, nah, he wasn't pointing at me, but I'm going over. And if I get to say hi, I say hi. And he's like, what's up, bro? And then he was like, I'm gonna go out the back, sign this jersey and get it brought back out for you. And I was just like,
Wow.
and then all the Pistons staff after that were like, what the hell? They're like, that was like, we did not have anything to do with that. Like, that's insane. And I was like, I was losing it. Like,
Can imagine.
I was just like, because like for him to do that is like, um, that, because there's no one apart from the owner, there's no one who has more power in that. So for him to just say hi to me and like acknowledge me is like that's a moment I know I already do look back on, but I know I'll look back on wherever I am and whatever I'm doing. It's like that fully changed my life. Like to get validation from him, um, is just like that's everything. It's like what I don't know, like that's crazy. So for him to just say hi was like, and he was just so like cool, like casual, and like I wasn't even really, I was like losing it a bit, but I was kind of just like chill with him because he was chill and it was so genuine. Like we were both smiling, like that was crazy. I don't think I slept after that night. Me and my girlfriend were just like, it was crazy.
Yeah.
Got that signed jersey up in my
Yeah.
cupboard there. I got to get
Wow.
framed, but
Yeah.
um then the stuff with Stu, I'd actually like Stu's my favorite player, Isaiah Stewart. You can see
Yeah.
him, the bobblehead
Yeah.
behind me.
Yeah.
Um, so since the Pistons drafted him, like I was just love the way he plays. So I DM'd him a few times before I got to Detroit because I'd made videos about him and he was like, appreciate that, bro. But no, so I knew he might like say hi to me. And then like, we said hi, we had some time together, like just briefly all the time, but he was really cool. He would always come over and say hi and like, um, yeah, I didn't really they didn't really ask me much about Australia,
Yeah.
but I met as well Bobby Clintman at a Cruise game who funnily enough I was saying to him, I was like, when you were at paying for cans, Taipans, that's the season I worked at the NBA. I was like, I
Wow.
was literally making I was helping make and
Yeah.
post all the content about you. And he's like, bro, that's insane. And like he was so nice. So um the players they're all really nice. And like, I don't know. I don't like I try to like keep my distance because like, especially when I was back for the playoffs, I was like, they're
Yeah.
got to be locked in.
Yeah.
But
Exactly. Yeah.
it's been crazy. It's crazy. I'm just like, I've like watched these guys on TV and just for them to say hi or, um, because I tried to get a heap of access with the players, like
Yeah.
requesting, and like it's
Sure.
just very hard to get
Of course.
any time with them because of their schedules, especially during the season.
Mhm.
So like for them to come over to me was just like crazy. Because it's yeah. So it was really, really special. And I think just because, like you said, the Australian accent, I think we're just a bit of a different vibe. Like they
Yeah.
appreciate the fact, like the one thing people can't believe is that, especially it's Detroiters and like people that play for the team, like you're so far away. Like, why? How is there fans this far away? I'm like, guys, I don't think you understand how many international fans there are of every
Yeah,
team. Like, it's something that I'm not sure Americans really grasp.
yeah,
Like, they know it's a global game, like the NBA, but I don't think they grasp that how big their fan bases actually are.
yeah,
So I think having that's what I'm kind of proud of, going back to that community thing, is like I'm only a very, very small part, but being able to shine a light on fans in Australia, fans all over the world is like really cool because they don't actually really know.
yeah.
They
That's
really
crazy.
don't.
Yeah,
Unless they like for the Wizards, like when you had Rui, I'm sure there was a heap of he's from Japan, I'm pretty sure.
yes,
Like
yeah,
they would have been aware of that fan base. But unless there's a player from that country, I don't think they fully understand um, how big their fan bases really are and how like international fans are some of the most dedicated fans.
for
Cause like you
sure.
said, we don't often have an allegiance to the city or the place. So I think it's been really cool for the players, at least on the Pistons, to just see how much there's fans outside of just Detroit and the US that love what they do and I just watch every game and support them a crazy amount.
Yeah, it's awesome. And I think, as you mentioned, I think them meeting you was like the ultimate validation to show that what you're doing is really impacting the world as well, as you're bridging that gap between America and Australia as the whole world too. And they really don't know the global impact they have onto the world because there are so many fans across the whole world that are watching these guys play. Like I I'm probably not I'm not a Detroit fan, obviously. I'm a Wizards fan, but I can tell you the whole team of the Detroit Pistons, like the main rotation players. I can tell you which players are unbelievable. I could have told you that Cade Cunningham was going to be unbelievable before coming out of the draft. So they really do have a massive impact, not only on Detroit fans, but also fans around the world too. So it's really awesome that Cade was down to earth and able to give you that moment too, because I could imagine that being extremely incredible as well. So thanks for sharing, and yeah, thanks for continuing to do your work and bringing sport fans together across the whole globe. So it's really awesome to see. We're going to go into a quick rapid fire segment. I'll always say this every time I do this. It's a rapid fire, but it ends up taking longer than expected. So excuse just for the sake of the sentence. But basically, I'm gonna give you a few questions. You're gonna answer them, and then for a laugh, we're gonna try to do our best Wizards slash Pistons starting five. So we might get into a bit of a debate, but let's see how this goes. I'm not gonna take into account this season because you guys would have the whole starting five. But we'll try to do it like all time.
Okay.
And I think you still will have more players than us, but we'll give it a go. But first, I want to start with your favorite Pistons jersey ever.
Pistons jersey, that's a great one. So I would have normally said the teal jerseys, but the season they wore them, they were so bad. We won like 15 games that I'm like a little bit turned off by them. So I think my favorite Pistons jerseys, they had these red Detroit City jerseys in Cade's rookie season. I actually don't own one. But if you look them up from that 2021, 2022 season, it's like red and then it has like blue thunderbolts on the other side. And I think it says Detroit across the chest. I just really like the red. I think it pops well. So that's probably my favorite jersey. And then I would probably put the teal second. And then if I had to put a third one, I honestly just love their classic white home jersey. I think that's really clean as well.
I think I got the answer to this question, but just for the sake of the audience, the most underrated Pistons player.
Oh, I would say it's Stu. But within the Pistons, that's like on a NBA level because everyone just knows him for like the technicals, fights, and all
Of
that.
course, of
I don't
course.
think they understand how actually like good of a player he is, obviously defensively. But amongst the Pistons fan base, who I would say I still think Jaden Ivey's a very like I don't know if he's underrated, but he's a player that fans are either very in on or very out on. And I don't really fully understand why fans are out on him completely. But that yeah.
I'm a big role player guy. So when I look at the Pistons, I don't think they're underrated across you guys, but I think their impact doesn't get talked enough about. And that's the acquisitions of Malik Beasley, Tobias Harris, and Tim Hardaway. I think if you don't have those players, I'm not saying you won't make the playoffs because it's really hard. You got your young stars, but I feel like the impact of veteran role players has definitely pushed this team forward, and you can see it with those three being in there. And I'm hoping for the
Definitely.
Wizards to do the same with Middleton and Smart being there already. I think if you don't have key veteran role players, it's really hard to succeed in NBA. So I
Couldn't
would say
agree
those
more.
three evenly.
Couldn't agree more. Like
Yeah.
that was be my biggest learning. So I'd never been a fan through a full blown rebuild. Like the Pistons teams before were always just middling, like Hornets vibes. Never too bad, but never good. So going through a full rebuild, all I wanted was them to play all the young guys. Like I would want a starting five of all the first round picks, but
Yeah.
that's what happened when you don't have vet guys like you mentioned. You have the worst season of all time,
Yeah,
and
of
they
course.
don't get did when they made that Middleton trade. Is that when you guys started just having some more confidence? You brought in Marcus Smart at the trade deadline. That's when you guys started winning some more games and
Yeah,
just
we
being
also
more consistent a little bit.
got in AJ Johnson, who was a rookie out
Yeah,
of Milwaukee as well. So
yeah.
he fits into our core of young players, and he kind of took a massive leap as well. But definitely having their presence there has been a big impact. I'm not sure whether they play because I think they were getting shut down. They weren't expected for them to play. But I think we have to look out for them next season if they are to stay and how like their impact is, especially Middleton, because I think people forget about how Middleton is. He was literally the second guy in a championship winning team for Milwaukee. And he's just been struggling with injuries. We definitely flunked that trade. We won that by a mile, in my opinion, sending Kuzma. Kuzma played 12 minutes in the playoffs. So we definitely won that trade. But
Yeah, that's
trades
crazy.
like, yeah, trades like that got us on the up. So Middleton, definitely a big impact. We also have a guy, I did a podcast with a Wizards editor before, Anthony Gill, who doesn't play, but he's got a very big veteran presence. I'm not sure if the Pistons have anyone like that at the moment that just doesn't play, but is in the roster.
We had like
But
Rodney Magruder for like 3 seasons, who was like
yeah,
our Anthony Gill.
yeah, and he
Never
was
really
cool.
played.
And I hated when, like, honestly, like, I like Draymond Green, but I remember the stuff he said about Rodney Magruder was pretty, like, out of pocket. And so was Klay Thompson.
Yeah,
I feel like he still made a big impact. But yeah, that's kind of the Wizards spill at the moment.
yeah.
And then another question, we obviously know about Cade Cunningham, but who's going to be the next biggest star for the Pistons? And then give me like an NBA one as well, just to make it a bit spicier.
I would say for the Pistons, that's the thing we're still searching for, is that number two guy. Um, I don't know if they have that on the roster right now, and that's where a lot of fans are being like, we need a trade for that guy. But I'm still like, even if we don't have that, just run this core back. They're still so young. But if I had to pick one, I think Asar Thompson has the highest potential, and he was out with blood clots, missed his whole. He still hasn't had a full NBA off season because the only one he had blood clots, and he didn't come back till like end of December. So he's not as good as Amen because he like doesn't have the handle, but he could be crazy. Like his potential is crazy. Jaden O is probably the one with the most realistic outcome of being that number two. And then in terms of the NBA, oh, dude, my NBA knowledge it's funny doing this full time. I watch a lot less NBA
For
because I
sure,
feel
yeah.
like I only watch my team and everything I do. Um, so I probably don't have a great answer for you. I'm not gonna lie. That's really bad of me, but my general NBA knowledge is not good anymore doing this full time.
No, we can say a star. That's fine. Yeah. I'll be actually, like, it's crazy. Like, my biggest hot take, and I'm probably extremely wrong about this, but I'm probably one of the only few non-Detroit fans that is backing Asar Thompson to be better than Amen. And it hasn't
Really?
happened yet. Yeah. I don't know. For some reason, I like the idea of him going fifth in the draft rather than fourth. And I think they're both incredible. I think they are both incredible. I think a lot of people are skewing towards Amen, especially with how he's been doing with the Rockets and his ball handling, as you mentioned. But I still think Asar's got so much potential. And let him have a full season, and I think he will do some crazy things. Those Thompson twins, they're bloody athletic, let me tell you, though. They're doing
Right.
some crazy things. They're changing the game. And if they could shoot at least 35% from three, like, watch out. If Asar Thompson, I don't know what he was shooting this year, but I know last year he had a really bad shooting percentage from 3-point. But if he can get to like 35, I feel like he can definitely be the second guy for you. So I don't think that's a bad answer at all.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
Asar's crazy. Like, there's just some numbers as well. Like, when he's on the floor, it's like this team just is. They're advanced numbers. Sometimes they're a little bit misleading, but they're just different. They're way better. Even with all these offensive deficiencies like the shooting and stuff, they're just better with him on the floor, which I think is a sign of a really good winning player.
Yeah. Well, I guess we can go straight into now our starting five for the Wizards. I'm going to give you the first pick as you're the guest. So we'll just do a blind starting five, any positions.
So I can pick from like all the way back, like all time.
Yeah.
So I'm going to take. This is crazy. All time.
You can go back to the
I'm
bad
not
boys
gonna.
days.
So I'm just gonna pick since like. This is bad. I'm gonna take Cade first
That's fine.
as my point guard.
Okay, so you've
I think
taken
I'm gonna
John.
surprise you with my second pick.
Okay, you're gonna take that away from me. I'm surprised you didn't go Isaiah Thomas.
Well, it's just because I was going to take. The
Yeah.
bad boys teams. I know they are so talented, but I just have nothing to do with them.
Yeah,
Going
that
to
makes
work
sense.
teams, I kind of watch them, so I'm just like, I could take Isaiah, but I just feel like I didn't watch any of that, and I'm just doing it
Yeah.
based off watching a couple of docos.
That's fair. That's fair. We can go more modern. Let's say what we'll do. We'll make it from when we started supporting them. So like we spoke before, we were very similar in like 2010 plus. How about that? We'll take
I
that.
like that because the
all
guy
right.
I want from your team is, I think, still there.
Okay, so Cade, are we going? Can we do point guard / shooting guard? So can I put John Wall as a shooting guard?
Yep, you can.
Can I do it? I can do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. I will. So they can be hybrids. Cade can let John Wall run the show. Cade, you can sit in the corner. Yeah, but I'll definitely go John Wall next.
So I'm going to take with my second pick to sit. He's a combo guard. I'm going to take Gilbert Arenas.
Yeah, I like that. That's before 2010, I'd say, but he was there.
I think
on his
he was
rookie
on the
year.
team for.
Yeah, he was.
So I'm taking him, but we're getting prime Wizards Gilbert Arenas.
I like it. I would have taken. This is actually good because I would have actually taken Michael Jordan #1 because he had the two seasons at the Wizards. The third pick or my second pick, or should we just fill out the team? So that's yours. My second pick. So I've got John Wall at point guard. You've got Cade. You've got Gil. So I can't take either of those. I would have to go at shooting guard. He's also a combo guard, and he's also leading the NBA in most triple doubles, and that is Westbrook.
Love it. I forgot about Russ.
Yeah, Russ had a lot of all the hate of Russell Westbrook that season he had at the Wizards. I loved him. He was one of my favorite. From John Wall, he was probably the next favorite player to watch for me. I loved him. So I've got him in. That's terrible shooting, but a lot of athleticism in my lineup at the moment.
I love it. All right. I'm going to take. This is tough. So
yeah, it is. Both teams are not very pleasant.
I can't take Beal because he's a guard. Oh man. This is really, really tough because I'm struggling here. Maybe I'll take. I don't know why I was struggling. I'm gonna take Blake Griffin for my 4.
Okay.
We might only get one season before he's injured or something, but I'm taking that 2019 Blake season was insane.
Yeah, he had a good year, so I kind of like that. All right, I'm gonna take your boy. I'm gonna take Andre Drummond at the center as a third pick. I probably missed someone for sure, but fuck it, I'm just gonna take him.
I'm trying. Who are some Wizards forwards across the years? I know you had like Trevor Ariza. I know you had.
Someone just came up in my mind when you said that. Oh no,
I'm going to take the center. I'm going to take Jalen Duren at the center. I think.
Lucky for me. So
him and Andre, very similar players.
Yeah. So with my 4th pick, I'm going to take Kristaps Porzingis at power forward.
Oh, he would have been perfect for my team.
Yeah, I thought you were going to get him. I was like, as soon as I picked Drummond, I was like, shit, I need Porzingis. I need shooting.
Yeah.
And I need height. So, yeah, Porzingis at.
Okay, so we've got one pick left each. I've got Cade, Arenas, Blake, Duren. All right, who's my 3? Oh, this is tough. Because the Pistons forever have never had any wings. Like, never. We've had some okay point guards like Reggie Jackson, had some bigs like Blake, Drummond, but we've just, apart from recently, we've never had wings. And I'm trying to think of Wizards wings. I can only think of Trevor Ariza since 2010. Yeah. And I'm like, oh, you know what? I'm going to take I do want to take a Saar, but for the fun of it, I'm going to take Otto Porter.
Bro, you
Because I feel like
don't
his third or fourth season before he signed that huge extension, he was okay.
bro, don't. He literally, once he signed that extension, the Wizard, honestly, like we were so good that season when we had him shooting threes at
Yeah.
like 49%, and then he just took the money and ran away. He
No,
took his 3-point shot with him.
I'm gonna take him. I want to
Oh
take a
my
Saar, but
gosh.
for the sake of the exercise, I'm gonna take Otto Porter Jr. I think
Yeah.
because he
Oh,
can shoot. We need
I
some
was
shooting.
I was thinking prime Chris Middleton, but I'm looking at my team. I'm looking at how athletic the boys are, and I feel like we're just going to run the court. We're going to be up and down, frantic basketball, and who else would be better than that than adding Asar Thompson to my team and just having a full running team, just straight defense, straight offense, but no 3-pointers. Porzingis can stay in the corner
Yeah,
and
a
shoot
lot
as
on
much as he can.
KP.
And we'll just try to get as many rebounds as we can.
I love it.
But yeah, so just to recap, I think your team has Cade Cunningham, Gilbert Arenas, my friend Otto Porter Jr. At power forward, remind me who
Blake
you got.
Griffin.
Blake Griffin and
Jalen
Jalen
Duren.
Duren. And I've got John Wall. Bradley Beal doesn't get on here. How funny is that? John Wall, Russell Westbrook, Asar Thompson, Kristaps Porzingis, and Andre Drummond. So
Crazy, yeah.
I think both teams stay how they are where they were before. But I think you get the edge here. I think balancedly, I think you got a bit more balance, a bit more shooting. My team's very frantic as well. Bradley Beal doesn't get on there, which probably be surprising for some. But personally, when Bradley Beal was scoring 30 a game, I feel like his game was better when he was a secondary with John Wall. And I've always said that when we were making the playoffs days. But yeah, quick starting five mixture. I love that. That was pretty fun.
That was good.
But I guess just closing out for this wonderful interview and call, just wanted to see what's next for you and I guess where people can find you online if they haven't already.
Totally. So for anyone looking for Pistons content, it's just Pistons Jack on. I think I'm pretty much on every social media platform, like most people. Daily Pistons content. We've got heaps of stuff for the off season. We'll be doing all the coverage of free agency, the draft. We do have a second round pick, so there'll be some deep cut content for that. But yeah, all summer league we'll be covering that. So honestly, full steam ahead until probably August. But I'm going to try to do some general basketball stuff in and around Melbourne, visiting some places. So yeah, there's going to be plenty of stuff all year round. This is all I do, so there'll be content for days.
Awesome. I'll certainly be looking out on your journey as well. It's been a fantastic interview. Thank you so much for jumping in and sharing your journey and wishing you all the best moving forward. And hopefully the Pistons can take another leap for your sake and get to a first playoff victory since a long time. So yeah, really looking out for that.
Appreciate that, man. Been a pleasure to chat to you. Thanks for having me on.
Cheers. So that's a wrap for this week's episode of the Huddle Within Podcast. I appreciate you for tuning in and being part of this community where we go beyond the game and into what really matters. If this episode resonated with you, make sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with someone who sees sports just the way that we do. And hey, I'd love to hear from you. Connect with me on my social medias, which will be linked below. Send in your thoughts and even be part of a future episode. Until next time, keep that passion alive, stay in the huddle, and remember, it's always deeper than the game. Cheers.